Okay, good afternoon, ladies and germs. Yeah, 1,000 comics out of work, but I'm making with the funnies here. Welcome to another nooner, political nooner, with your host, Rachel's Ghost, and of course, Ghost Town expert, Blake McKenzie. We just put a lovely bio on Blake in the description of the channel. I haven't put anything up for myself yet. Near do well, gadabout. Occasional Bible reader. But anyway, it's so good to have you here. We were just talking behind scenes before we launched this thing that the content writes itself. You don't have to search for a story every day. It seems something's going on in this big wide world that's really of interest to people like you and me. And so it's a little, it's a bit of a circle jerk around here because, we're pleasuring ourselves with all these stories. But I think there's some good stuff and it's worth sharing about. And I have a heck of a good time doing it. So let's start off. Anything you want to talk about right off the bat, Blake?
Which one? We were talking off stage there for a minute, but which fish shall we reel in now? We could talk about Harvard being defunded. Okay. That's a fun one.
That is fun. Now this is a big story. I'll start it because I got something here on the. In fact, actually, I got it myself. I'm going to risk showing fucking something. With my thing, it's just crazy. But this is again liberal bias in the media. CBC, the Canada's national broadcaster, state broadcaster, right? The propaganda arm of the Liberals.
Yeah.
And hang on, I got to go bigger with it. I'm getting my director saying, well, nobody can read that stuff. Now I got to go even bigger with it if I can. There we go. President Trump, Donald Trump's administration, revoked Harvard University's ability to enroll in international students. Sounds horrible. And is forcing existing students to transfer other schools to lose their legal status. U.S. Department of Homeland Security said, and you can read it all there. And I'm like, wow. Well, here's some context. CBC, motherfucker. This administration, and this is from the Kristi Noem, right? Department of Homeland Security Secretary. The administration is holding Harvard accountable for fostering violence, anti-Semitism, and coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party on it. Coordinating. It is a privilege, not a right, for a university to enroll foreign students and benefit from their higher tuition payments to help pad their multi-billion-dollar endowments. Harvard had plenty of opportunity to do the right thing. It refused. They fucked around, and they are finding out. They have lost their student and exchange visitor program certification as a result of their failure to adhere to what? The frickin' law. Let this serve as a warning to all universities and academic institutions across the country. So here's CBC with their, they're hurting little students with their little brown bag lunches, and they got a little sandwich. I go, I'm learning about English as a second language. And they're all excited and cute and adorable. But it turns out like the commies are involved, Chinese Communist Party, violence, anti-Semitism with Hamas and, students for Palestine and all this kind of nonsense. So,
well, actually, I have some. It's not a problem just in the U.S. It's a problem in Canada and the Western world, but specifically Canada and the U.S. because we've allowed the Chinese communists to enter into, and I've said this all along, it is not just in our political apparatus and but our cultural institutions, educational institutions. Yeah. These people haven't allowed Chinese, at minimum, sympathizers or supported locally, but they've actually allowed PhDs from China to come in and start teaching in these universities as well. So the students are there from China, the PhDs are from China, not all of them, but obviously there's a few. But I know this from a good authority, and I'm not going to say his name because he's a PhD as well. And he has told me that it is a controversial subject right now in a lot of the universities that, and I'll say this, he's a liberal too, has stated that our universities have a really bad problem with Chinese influence within the PhD class that have allowed these Chinese doctors to come in and teach. And also the students, so-called Chinese students, some of them are here as organizers to help continue to create destabilization over here in the West. So let's call it for what it is. Our cultural institutions have been infected, and I think with that decision makes sense. It's time to clean up the crap that's going on the campuses.
Yeah, and of course, I actually Blake. Because I know Blake so well, that the individual he's referencing, who shall remain nameless, but it's a mutual friend of ours. I've known this individual. In fact, I was at university at the same time as this individual, and we took some courses together and the like. What do you got, Sue? Okay. Hey, Rich Sue, waiting for guests for a royal visit. We're heading over to see Anthony tomorrow. It's going to happen. We're doing a road trip, but here we go. What do we got here? Let's take a look at this, see what we got. Okay, National Post, Canada. It's got the gold check mark. It's media. Amy Ham. No, Jolie, we don't want America's far left academic refugees. Say what? Blake, take it away. What do we got?
Well, it sounds like in response to the defunding of Harvard, that it's been floated in Canada that Canada should allow these far left lunatics to become PhD academics to have refugee status in Canada. So let's move Harvard to Canada. That's essentially what they're saying.
You know what? Look, I'm going to give a metaphor because, sometimes children like to learn through examples. You like science? Okay. I'm going to be God. These are going to be liberal lunatics over in America. Here's God with the earth. They're just sliding them over into Canada. Okay. It's crazy out there. So, but that's the real deal, isn't it? Is to bring this up. But I mean, I'd love to have an exchange program. We fostered this idea back behind stage. I'd love an exchange program, like Ukraine and Russia are doing a prisoner exchange. I'd like us to send our conservatives down, flood the states with all of us, Canada, as a 51st state, all us people, throw us in the states, and then just throw all the freaking liberals up into Canada, particularly the ones from Minnesota, North Dakota, all them types. They could come up here and have their own little jihadist enclave. Oregon. Well, yeah, I'm just thinking the northern states where it's all chilly anyway, and they won't get like hypothermia for crossing the border. I want them all happy, okay? Happy liberal heroes having a great old time. But then we could, Blake, you and I'd be out of here in 50 cents.
Hey, well, we could give them all Baffin Island.
You would Baffin Island, sure.
Move them there.
But what do you think about that? I mean, here's the idea. If you were offered American citizenship right now, lift up your tent, you're here, now you're there. What would you do? Where would you go? Would you take it up? Would you go? Tell me about it.
Hey, but Trump is doing that. He's inviting the entrepreneurs, the business people of the world to move all their capital and ideas into the U.S. So the door is open for people who want to do it. And it's already happening. Like we were talking the other day, there's 3,200 known millionaires that are exiting Canada right now. Millionaires, people who create business, create wealth, create jobs, are leaving Canada as it stands. $500 billion of capital leaving Canada just over this last election. Not counting, we find out the CPP, our Canadian pension plan, $750 million. So it's on. The exodus is on.
Here's the other thing we got. What's her name? Jolie. It sounds like a great name. Bon ami. I love Jolie. But anyway, she's like a secretary or some minister or whatever. And she's in Carney's cabinet, and she's talking about, we're going to get all the American nurses. They hate Trump, and they're going to come up here. There's going to be a brain drain as a medical. They aren't going to make 1/100% of what they're making in the U.S. If you want to come up and starve under socialized medicine, God help you. We have a brain drain of medical doctors. I don't know the stats, Blake, But I would argue probably most Canadians do not have a personal physician in
I,
2025.
I'm one of them. I don't have one. I've been waiting years to get one. We can't. All the ones that I've had in the past all quit and retired,
Yeah, well,
or moved on to something else.
well, and some of them went down stateside because, here's the I got a sociology degree. We talked about the three professions. Traditionally, there's only three: the medical profession, the legal profession, and the clergy. Okay, those three, the clergy. If you watch a show, and I use this example all the time because it's in the popular mindset, popular culture, Caddyshack, you'll notice that there's a priest there. Remember, he's out by the 17th hole, and he gets electrocuted. The priest who's out there. You got the doctor in the thing, and then you got the lawyer. They're all featured there because they're trying to show status at this private club of Caddyshack, right?
Yeah, I love that movie. I probably saw it 100 times. Still watch it. It's like Life of Brian or Monty Python.
Little
but it's true. Oh, her name was Melanie Jolie.
Melanie, my boss,
the minister of woke and stupid.
Yeah. So anyway, so these are the professions. Anything else is a job, is an occupation, but it's not a profession. So there's high status afforded. In Canada, these guys have status, but they have no money anymore. They're just working stiffs. And they aren't even like amongst our best. So a lot of them just gave up practice and started doing other stuff. I remember my one doctor actually quit and just to do something else. He says, this ain't paying me enough. I got to get out of here. And he just quit. This is the problem.
How many medical staff do we lose because of the
we lost? Yeah, we had
a lot there too.
Years ago, we lost a lot of medical people there. Yeah. Many of them, some of them, whatever. We didn't want to go through with things, but the whole idea, it's preposterous to think that these Americans are going to come up here unless they're absolutely brainless, and they're medical people, so I don't think they are. But it makes no sense to give up your cushy lifestyle in the United States, where you've got status as a medical profession, but you also, in addition to, actually have capital to do it. Now, the medical system is just nonsense up here, socialized medicine. You go in for 10 minutes, your doctor demands 10 minutes so he can get his cut from the government. Then you're done. You're out. I got to get the next person in and get my 10 minutes that way. Blake's on a waiting list to get a doctor. We have a doctor, but he's like, in Victoria. So he's like 3-4 hours away. Doctor, it hurts. Don't do that. Come and see me in Victoria in 4 hours. I'll look at it.
Yep. And good luck getting into a hospital. And if you're sitting half a day or a full day waiting to see an emergency physician, and God forbid you're having a kidney stone or something like that and suffering, it's horrible. But what's interesting is our own premier in British Columbia stated that he's got all of these medical professionals that are Democrats that are looking to move to BC now. And I'm thinking, which ones are they? Because as you stated, the tax benefit in the US and the benefits they get with healthcare far outweigh their political ideological stance. They'll come here and look at the taxes and the insanity. But the other side of it is, who is he talking about? Is it going to be the best and the brightest, or it's the ones nobody will hire? So it's going to be all the medical professionals that have a degree in gender studies or some purple-haired crazy woke nutcase who can't get a job.
Okay, so Sue goes, she did an AI overview on this issue. She goes, approximately, AI came up with this, approximately 6.5 million Canadians, which is over 1 in 5, do not have a regular, 1 in 5 people in Canada don't even have a regular family doctor or even a nurse practitioner. My God. Approximately 6.5 million Canadians, which is 1 in 5, don't have that going. British Columbia lost 2,500 nurses because they didn't want the jab back, with a jab of some sort. We don't know what it was about, but it sure sounds interesting.
It's about ostriches.
Oh, talk about it. They lost jobs because they refused to take the experimental procedure, and reference to this is courtesy of Vancouver Sun newspaper, legacy media, big paper. out in this part of the world. Kind of like what is it? Seattle. What Seattle's got the weirdest name for their big post intelligencer.
I was just going to say the post
Yeah,
intelligence.
there's Seattle Post Intelligence.
And there's the Seattle Times as well.
Here's a link. You can read about it yourself, kids. So here we have Harvard. These universities are fostering discontent. They're just cauldrons for communist indoctrination. I got to tell you, when I was there back in the 1980s, it's going back a bit, but my professor, and you can look him up in your Funkin' Wagnall kids, Dr. Rennie Warburton was chair of the sociology department at UVic. I studied and clashed with Rennie Warburton many a time in his class. I challenged him. He hated my guts, but he kind of liked me too. It was a weird thing. But we had a love-hate relationship. I loved him, he hated me, but it doesn't matter. It was a lot of fun. But we would, banter back and forth. But the head of the entire department of sociology is an avowed communist. Absolutely freaking unbelievable. And it's only gotten worse since then. And keep in mind, folks, that when it comes to universities, it's all about funding. It's all about money. It's all about, if you want to be a professor, if you want to make ground, you got to publish. You got to have some grad students, like little skulls on your belt, little heads that you got. Yeah, I got about 20 kids that have come through under my auspices, and you're publishing, you're out there. But there's a struggle for money. The hard sciences, the soft sciences, who's getting the money? And it turns out that traditionally the hard sciences got all the money until the soft sciences figured, hey, if we start pushing ideological left-wing rhetoric, we're going to get more funding from big institutions, World Economic Forum, all these
disruptors.
The money guys that you like to talk about, Blake. Invest.
All those NGOs that we found through Doge are getting money to fund all this too. But I remember a story you telling me at your time in university, which was hilarious about let's just get the bastards lady.
Oh,
that's such a fantastic story.
Yeah, that was great. I was in university. And I told Blake knows because Blake and I go back a ways, but we were in a class and they had a guest speaker, and so I was going to raise a question. It was like a women's studies thing. They had a woman professor. So here I am. I'm waiting to go around, and people are saying, "Well, what about this doctor, professor and stuff?" And as the ladies are all women, discussing. Then this one, and she's got the look. She's got a crew cut that, what's that little cartoon guy with the blonde hair? He looks like Elvis with the shades, that guy. She got that kind of haircut. And anyway, she's more, oh boy. Anyway, so she's there, no shoes on, she, sitting there cross-legged on the floor. And they go, "Yes, Karen, what's your comment?" And she goes, "We just got to get the bastards." We just got to get the bastards, got to get the, and she's just shaking her head going, "We got to get them." And then she goes, "Well, thank you, Carrie." And then okay, Rachel, you got a question? I'm like, yeah. I go, "What an act to follow." I said, "No, I'm good. It was great. Let's keep her going." Delphina, the lovely Delphina, we love you. From Los Angeles, California, all the way from one of the great cities. I love LA. I love it. Obamacare has some good points for it. But for private practice doctors, it has been a death blow. Obamacare hurting private practice doctors. It has caused many corporate takeovers of healthcare here. Now, that's an interesting phenomenon. What do you think about that, Blake? If the corporate organizations, I guess companies are coming in and they're taking over healthcare programs, are they exploiting the American people because of exorbitant prices, because they've got their own policies that they're using for their unions and their companies and all that? Let me know. I don't know enough about it, Delphina, all honesty.
I mean, it sounds very similar to what's happened here to some degree, where doctors used to have almost primarily all private practices, even though they were billing the socialist system. But they have since consolidated doctors because they've created kind of a warehousing like effect where they have now walk-in clinics versus an actual practice. You don't even see the same doctor anymore.
Yeah.
And so you see kind of there was a corporate move into creating more and more of these walk-in clinics managed by corporations. So it sounds very similar, if that's what she's talking about, that they're kind of mirroring what happened here is happening in California under Obamacare. But yeah, but you know, I would probably venture to say the worst healthcare system in whichever state in the United States is far superior than anything we have in Canada. Unless you live in a rich area like West Vancouver.
Yeah.
They seem to you never hear complaints out of West Vancouver. That's where all the multimillionaires live. But outside of there, it is, you are put into a warehouse queue. It's terrible.
Well, I can tell you, Blake, that, during my, big transition, the transgender thing is so like, I'm at the Jubilee Hospital in Victoria, working there. And when I first joined in, when I came in on it, was like as a cleanup crew, I was going in a room, somebody had an mRNA virus, all this sort of thing. I'd go in there and it was my job to kind of help them out. And I tell you, man, originally there were a whole bunch of RNs floating around, a couple of LPNs. They had some care aides, okay, care aides. So it's like the Army, right? You got your officer corps, which are the registered nurses, RNs. Then you got licensed practical nurses underneath them. And each step up, and then underneath them, you got the care aides. And then underneath the care aides, you got me. Somebody just pooped in aisle 30. Can you clean it up? We got a mess in aisle 30. Poop, and I'll get it. I got my little mop. I'll clean it up. So anyway, so I'm in there. And what happened is that the government, in all their wisdom, first of all, doctors get paid a lot. So everything got dumbed down. So they wanted to empower nurses to start doing some of the jobs that were previously the sole purview of medical doctors. So you're going from doctorates to bachelor degrees, bachelor nursing. Then you get a two-year college course for the LPNs. And then you got a 6-month community college show up for your care aides. And what they did is the doctors doing their thing, and they're all fragmented, broken out because specialists. Oh, I got to send you to this girl or guy for that. Anyway, so the RNs, they had too many RNs, too many officers, too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Get rid of the RNs. So now they're down to like 2 RNs on each ward with like 30, 40 beds. Then you've got a fleet of LPNs, and now the LPNs are doing work that was originally the purview of just a registered nurse. Now they're doing it. And the care aides are actually doing some of the work that was initially designed for LPNs, people with that level of education. So you're getting really less quality service all the way through as it layers down, as it's generally degrading in the quality of care. It's really going down. Senior living facility I used to work at was trying to recruit Canadian nurses. They offered them free lodging and a salary with the requirement that they get, you know what? You know how many got? Zippo. Yeah, if they had avoided the Zippo, I think they would have done a lot better. There's a lot of people. Blake and I are not, we are a minority. I think we're still a minority position up here in Canada, but I'm so ready to bail on this whole operation. We got King Charles coming to talk to us. He's our liege. My Lord Charles. God bless you, my Lord. Your gracious highness, your noble and stout-heartedness. Great King of England and all her lands, and her commonwealth and empire, long may it reign, my lord. And so we just got Charles coming. God knows what he's going to say. I think it behooves us all to protect the environment to the greatest extent possible.
Decrease the population.
I have lived a good life. And I'm just glad it can go that way. But anyway, he's coming in next Tuesday, or this coming Tuesday, to talk to all us Canadians. And God knows what's going to happen. They'll probably reaffirm we're in charge here, not that guy to the south, not the one.
Yeah, it's going to be a little different King's speech, not like the one that happened during the war with the Nazis. This is going to be far left WF lunatic crap. So, yeah, as you said, the serfs here in Canada will have to just sit there and nod.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I'm interested to see. I don't give a shit about the guy, but I'm kind of curious to see what happens. It's all about patient volume versus personalized healthcare. My pulmonary doctor had a private practice group with other doctors. He had to sell UCLA Health Obamacare requirements because they were so restrictive. So not good. Same thing happening. Also, Delphina works in the entertainment industry, so which is kind of cool. Down in California, Hollywood, man, who great for Hollywood? I love it. Same thing happened with my entertainment medicine doctor. He had to go concierge service only with no insurance. He had no insurance, so it's problematic. I mean, certainly some sort of safety net has to be in place. I think that behooves us as a people, as a culture, as a first world society, wherever we are. I'm okay with it to a limited extent, but it's got to be monitored so closely. Otherwise, it turns into a socialist shithole and becomes ineffective. So that you're in the waiting room for 5 hours and you're dead, and waiting to get treated because it's overflowing. Nobody can afford it, and they aren't allowing the opportunity for people with coin to go out and have a two-tiered. There's nothing wrong with a two-tiered medical system. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
You have two-tier and everything else. I've got a Tesla. I can't afford a Tesla. I've just got a Miata. Oh. Okay, so we've got these situation where we have a society. I live in a
I just got to step away for a second.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, he's got to go poo-poo. Hang on. Well, we're moving for a second. We'll just take him out. Then when he comes back, I'll see him backstage when he comes in. Holy smokes. Anyway, just sure excited. I just love him. I picked a fine time to start growing old. You're just aging before I eyes, 4D. But yeah, I mean, we got these institutionalized problems, right, going along with that, and the whole thing, it collapses ultimately on itself. Kind of funny that when I had the big sex change, I go to Montreal. It was like first class service, and I got in there, no problem at all. They, oh yeah, come on in. Yeah, we'll chop your twig and berries off for you, and we'll give you. Would you like some boobs on the side? Yeah, kind of a big one. Okay, we're gonna give them to you, and it's just crazy. Obviously, I'm a little nuts, but the whole thing is, it's a lot of fun. Okay, Blake, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry, some guy was banging on my door right in my office here, and I'm like, what the heck?
The government, they found us. They found us.
It's a delivery guy for a package. So,
okay.
But no, it all makes sense what's happening here. I mean, there's the two-tiered system is happening in the entire Western first world. I mean, all the European nations, for the most part, Canada, I think, is one of the few countries in the world where it decided to go 100% all public health care. And it's been a disaster. But the UK and Sweden and all the other countries in Europe have a two-tiered system. And that's so that the pressure won't all fall on the public system. And those that want to go to pay for their service and get to take some strain off of it, they can go there. Right now, Canadians who have money, they just drive across the border to get their health care, or they take a ferry from Victoria to Port Angeles. I mean, that hospital just across the water from Victoria has promoted itself to Victorians to come over there if you want to not wait for 6 months to get an MRI, right? I mean, that's the crazy. People are dying here because they're on waiting lists. They'll get to a doctor, but to get to the specialist can be like a year, and by then you're in stage 12 cancer, and you're 6 feet under.
Yeah, you're so right, especially when things like cancer, where you got to be, the priority is get on top of it right away. This is a fun with National Post. Secret RCMP report warns Canadians will probably revolt once they realize how broke they are. This is our public health system. And this vaunted and highly touted healthcare system, don't believe the propaganda. Like, I love our American friends, a lot of the liberals go, well, you're getting healthcare, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but we're paying through the nose through everything. And as a result of that, governments don't make money, governments spend money. And most Canadians are involved in the government employment picture on some level. Blake and I were talking about this the other day. Canada used to be Upper and Lower Canada, and then a big swath of what now is Western Canada, Northwest Territories, Yukon, and whatever else they got, Nukatuktuk, whatever the hell they're calling it these days. These things was just Rupert land. It was Rupert's land. It belonged to little Rupert. You know, Rupert the bear. Hello, I'm Rupert the bear. I love you so much. I'm Rupert. I'm a little white bear.
A cuddly little HBC bear.
And I got a lovely blanket. So, you know, you got this HBC bullshit. We're coming out. We're corporately created. Talk about the corporation, you know, and stuff. I also
the vast majority of Canadian lands, especially out west and in northern parts of Quebec, Ontario, were all under Rupert's Land, which was the Hudson's Bay Company monopoly. Canada was formed on a corporate monopoly because when those licenses that Queen Victoria, the Crown, had provided under her reign were expiring, the bureaucracy of the corporation decided to change hats because you understand Canada was a company town at that point, literally run by one corporation. You worked for them, you were indentured by them, they were the law as well. So they controlled all aspects of your life. If you didn't show up for work because you showed up drunk, they could throw you in their corporate jail. That's the kind of power they had. So these bureaucrats.
Oh, sorry, Blake. But what does it say about a 500-year-old company that's now gone into receivership? It's done. After 500 years, a fucking leftists killed that big monolithic entity known as the Hudson's Bay Company that's just totally synonymous with Canada, literally synonymous with Canada if you go back far enough. And in fact, my answer, I'm a product of the fur trade with my Scottish and French ancestors coming over, particularly the Scottish ones, because the French were already here, but the Scottish ones coming over specifically to be in the fur trade. Mackenzie, I'm a Macaulay, you're a Mackenzie. I'm also a MacLeod from Clan MacLeod. And his super proud MacLeod ancestor, I'm related to Donald John Trump. He's my great cousin. I love you, cousin Donald.
But I guess my theory is behind this is nothing's really changed, and Canada is still a corporate. It's running under a corporate monopoly of a company type town. Our whole electoral process is one person wins all, the prime minister, calls all the shots, much like you get to vote in your board of directors every election. And then they call it all. They're not only just your local representatives, but they're also government.
Yeah.
So in the U.S., you guys have a system where it's separate. In Canada, it is not. It is one and the same. You vote for your corporate board of directors. They become government. So your MP now becomes your it could be your leader as well, because you don't get to vote for your leader directly. You don't get to have a prime minister voted by the people. You have to vote in your local MP or your local MLA provincially, and they pick the leader. Their party picks a leader. So basically their board of directors, you're choosing which board of directors you want to run the country. And Canada's bureaucratic class is created from the Hudson's Bay Company. Literally, the culture has not changed. It's still there. But what's interesting about the West, though, I want to point this out, that the East likes to point this whole story out that there was nothing out here, just the Plains people, you know, going after the buffalo. But no, there was a colony in the West, and it was called British Columbia. And it had its own governor.
And we Scottish River Mackenzie.
But we had a gold rush. We were populated north from the south, not from the east. It wasn't until the U.S. Civil War happened and there was desperation from Canada going, okay, what are we going to do out there? They didn't do anything. They fought over a transcontinental railway, couldn't get it done till 1886. So the vast majority of people that were populating eventually Alberta, what became Alberta, which was part of the Northwest Territories, but also British Columbia, Yukon, Klondike Gold Rush, were Americans. And from people all around the other world, Australia, UK, Spanish gold miners, they came from Hawaii. We had Hawaiians, Kanaka people here too. They were all here.
Kanaka.
So we had our own culture based on the West Coast here, our own colony. And so that's something those people in the Laurentian elite would like to spin the story that somehow we didn't exist until they showed up.
I got to tell you about Kanakas.
51st state underway.
Okay,
West.
hold on now. You get too wound up. You know those Kanakas? You get them. You got two of them. I used to have Kanakas. I don't have them anymore. But you could swing them, and the Kanakas had hit, and they found out they were dangerous and hurting children all over America. So they had to get rid of Kanakas. But anyway, they were really great. You know, Kanaka. That was fun. What? Clackers. Clackers. Oh, okay. Clackers. Sorry, I thought they were Kanakas. But anyway, so yeah, we had this influx. I remember, Blake, you talking to me. You were having trouble with the Ministry of Tourism and whatever the hell they were calling themselves in those days. And you tried to raise the American flag, Old Glory, up above Yale, British Columbia, because back historically, that's the flag that was there. Tell the kids about that. It's some fun stuff.
Well, actually, we had I had approval because I used to run a historic site called Yale, which was in the foundation of the Fraser River Gold Rush in 1858.
Right after the 49ers got done, they showed up a decade later up here.
Yeah, exactly, because the mines down there were in kind of a recession. So it caused 60,000 miners over 2 years to pour into British Columbia during the Fraser River Gold Rush. So the main characters that were populating BC, both the power and those coming, were Americans. So we had a flag made, an 1858 stars were on the flag in 1858. So it wasn't like a modern flag, but it was the flag from 1858. And also we had the British flag, right? Wow. So we had the British flag because that was the two powers that were here. And we even got a California Republic flag because it flew here too. You could see those flags in old pictures flying up front. So we put it in front of the historic site. And I'm not kidding. We had people melting down on us, saying, "How dare you have an American flag here? Where's the Canadian flag?" I said, because the Canadian flag didn't exist in 1858. Yeah. There was no Canadian flag.
We don't show it.
Canada didn't exist in 1858. It didn't come into existence officially until 1867.
1867, we call it Confederation, boys and girls.
Yeah.
I want a railroad. Hey, look at this, Blake. Look at that St. John Divine Church.
There it all is. You worked under that church. You dug it out.
Yeah, Rosie. Yeah, because the Royal Corps of Engineers, British Corps of Engineers, they built it, but they put the timbers right on the ground. There's a Creighton House, a good old Creighton House. You know, they say it's haunted, Blake.
That's right.
What's going on? You know, O.J. Simpson? No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
Yeah, so that's where I worked for 5 years running that place.
Yeah, Blake,
back in the 1990s. The last time the BC NDP was in power. What a nightmare.
Look, there's the old house, Blake, right there.
Oh, we used to live in that one.
Yeah, we remember Blake and I slept together. I mean, we slept in that. Not together, but we were in that house. Let me tell you.
Yeah, an old house from the.
Okay, let's take a look. Serious question: why do governments find it difficult in keeping their Indigenous communities in line? Australia, we have a bad problem with high crime in these communities. There are some real issues with Indigenous populations. In Canada, we really did have a racist policy. The idea was to get rid of the Indian in the Indian, and it was literally. I'm paraphrasing, but it was stated like that in the 1921 Indian Act. It's horrible. You can't have language like that. So there was real prejudice. Yes, it was based upon white culture coming in, the dominant culture. Native culture didn't have some of the same genteel appreciations. Native people do have a genetic predisposition to alcohol. They call it the firewater. The firewater test. The natives were not dumb. They go. We want firewater. You got to put that liquid on there. We want to see it torched. Then we know you're giving us the good stuff. You're not watering it down. We want the good stuff, the high proof. And it did. It decimated native communities. So there has been a history of, and there's no denying it. But it's not genocide. But it is a history of oppression and institutionalized racism. You could, if you were a Native Indian, you could not get a job. They didn't want you represent. Oh, hey, you got my. You want to buy a blanket? You know, you're going into the Hudson's Bay. They aren't going to hire those poor people. So it became problematic. Also, they took the land. They had the reservation system north and south of the border. That's problematic. I'm part Kiowa. They took the Kiowa people from their Plains Indian, moved them all south to Oklahoma. All my cousins are in Oklahoma.
With all the Seminoles and others too, and Cheyenne, they were all mixed in there.
Yeah, well, and the court, yeah. But I mean, it's not, and also in fairness or balance of the whole thing, it's not some utopia of Native people loving one another. There's Indian wars going on even here on Vancouver Island where Blake
and slavery that Douglas had to address in 1834. He had to address it here.
Don't want that. Slavery is bad. This channel, Blake and I are here to tell you, slavery is bad. Children, don't get involved in it.
Yeah.
But
Indigenous peoples along the coast here were brutal.
Yeah,
to each other.
They were
beheaded each other.
Yes, there was beheadings, all sorts of nastiness,
tons of murdering.
So the serious answer to your serious question is there was indentured racism.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you wanted, if the greater opportunity had been provided for the Indians, when you're put on a reservation, you are not being given equal access to opportunity. Yeah. The whole idea, there should have been a greater effort to connect these two cultures and allow them to bring them in more into the general fabric. As soon as you make the reservation system, seems like a good idea to sustain their culture and identity, etc. But do it like the Welsh or the Irish or anybody else does. You honor your past. You know about it. You have the little hats in Wales for the ladies. If you're Irish, you got your little Irish. Oh, it's a four-leaf clover. Oh, it's St. Paddy's. You can have your Aboriginal Day of Truth or whatever the hell.
Well, the Indigenous people started depending on the government.
The government made them a bunch of serfs. Yeah,
exactly.
And they became a huge welfare state, so it's hard to leave that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a part of that is the British policy came from Britain because there was still hard feelings on obviously the Revolutionary War. So there was this, the Britain was going to protect the Indigenous people in Canada to keep them loyal to Britain because of what was happening in the United States. And I think that was part of it. So then when they didn't need them anymore as soldiers in their Majesty's army to help fight alongside them, like in the War of 1812, et cetera, or fight against the French in Quebec, the Plains of Abraham, all that kind of stuff. But the point is once that was over, it's like, okay, what do we do now? There's no more, there's no more quote unquote Indian wars in the West in the United States. Things have been kind of put into control. And now what do we do with these people? And as you described, it's like all of a sudden, and I call this out every time, to socialist, to your policy, because it's a socialist policy to take people's kids away and put them into residential schools, to go after their culture and try to erase it.
Yeah.
And that was essentially a very early socialist program where you are moving in to completely warehouse people. And we're still doing it today. Well, not just on Indigenous people, but we're still doing this today to all people, warehousing them in schools, warehousing them in this, doing this sort of blanket, big state knows all. You need to follow.
It's almost like the only solution allowed is a socialist solution. So we talked about this on yesterday's program. We got our parks, but you got to be Indigenous, and because it's your culture, you have the woods. White people aren't allowed to breathe the air.
Yeah,
because it's Indian air. I mean, this is fucking nuts, man. And so it's all identity politics. It's all socialist, and there is no political solutions. The police saying there are no political solutions. You can't find a solution by curing a socialist problem with socialist medicine. It needs a totally different approach. And it may be almost past the point of healing because we've, as a government, have pandered and given so much now, it's gone back the other way. So the pendulum's swinging. the other way. And now natives, if you want to make some money, just pander. I'm, quarter Native American myself and transgender. So if I want to play identity politics, if I was allowed the corruption to take over my heart, bullshit my way to the top and just make merchandise out of time and chance, being Native, transgender, all that, then I could make hay of it. I could be a somebody. I could be a contenta. But the thing is that I can't do it. My heart won't allow me because it's all bullshit, socialist, commie bullshit.
Well, and I think the point I've tried to make on this a number of times is very simple. I agree. People's children should not be taken away from their parents. The parents are the best people to raise their own children. Yeah, there's some difficult situations you can point out. Yeah, there's alcoholism in all different types of families and drug addiction, and that's just the human condition. But ultimately, families are better raising children than the state. And I agree with Indigenous people all along. That's the way it should have always been. And also should admit today to the socialists running our school systems and all that it is not take a village to raise a child. It takes a good family, period. Not this crap that the communists try and point everybody that the state knows how to raise a child and that somehow families are the problem. That's what we see with these kinds of policies that have they used on the Indigenous people, and now they're using it today on everyone. It's the same policy, it just has a different look.
After a week of these shows, I think I'm turning Canadian. Don't do that. USA, girl, USA. Oh, hooray for the red, white, and blue. Come on, we love America, man. But hey, Spring Hill Jim, we love you, Jim. Welcome to TV show. So anyway, see what you're showing something. Some of these, there's real disparity. You got wealthy Native tribes, and then you got dirt poor ones. You've got we've had real exploitation issues where you've got the chiefdom in some of these tribes have been making hay with the money, but the money is not going to the people, where the government's handing it out and it's not going to the people. That link is for the most successful Indigenous community in Atlantic Canada. But at the same time, we had Trudeau. I remember Trudeau riding in the back of a pickup with a bunch of Native people in his first term. He goes, in 2 years, if you people don't have drinking water, I'm not going to apologize. Just give me time. But in 6 years, you have no drinking water, a boil of water advisory, then shame on me. To my knowledge, I believe there is still boiled water advisories for some of these First Nation people in Canada. I don't know about that one with the pickup with Trudeau, though. I never followed up on it.
Anyway, the reason I put that up is because they are thriving because of integration and economics. Because they are working with other communities.
Yeah, you have to work. Yeah, shoulder in.
Yeah.
Well, one of the best stories I have for that that I experienced was actually in a place called Osoyoos, which is in southern part of the Okanagan region of British Columbia. There's the Inkami people who actually never got caught up in the residential school system. They actually were proactive back then. The chief and the families got together and met with the government, said, don't take our children, but here we have a proposal. We will do the education. We will teach all the sciences and language and all the curriculum you want taught. However, we want to maintain our culture and we want it taught in our schools. So if we hire the schoolmasters to come in and manage those schools for us based on those terms, would that be okay? They were given permission. So they're one of the few peoples that people call them the Osoyoos band, but they're called the Inkami.
Yeah.
And they, to this day, are one of the most successful people when it comes to Indigenous people that have never really suffered under the yoke of the Indian Act, because they've been able to control their finances. They've been able to become business people, successful, and maintain their culture.
Yeah, this whole thing, like overpopulation, the world population, it's so full of shit. That doctrine is so garbage. Canada is largely vacant property, just massive swaths of land,
crown land.
With the ice age coming down, so these massive sheets of ice took off all the gorgeous soil up here and deposited it in the good old US of A. So America's breadbasket, Nebraska, benefited from the ice shield that came down and left tundra for the people up north. And so it's inhospitable, it's cold, there's stretches of prairie, vast prairie. But then as you go further north, you get the remnants of that massive ice sheet. So there's nothing there. Now, can they drill and find some deposits under all that? Yeah, that's kind of where the future is possibly at.
But oil, minerals, yeah.
Yeah, but because of concerns from certain vested interests, we haven't been able to monopolize on that. And as a result, Canada's crippled itself. Canada could be an incredibly wealthy nation. It's resource rich. It's an amazing country with a lot of resources, vast swaths of forest, right? The cold isn't the reason why there's nobody there. It's just, what are you going to do there? It's part of that is the temperature, but it's cold everywhere in Canada. Canada cold motherfucker. But the thing is, out where Blake and I are, we're in baby bear bed out here. It's not too hot, not too cold. We like where I'm averaging, I think we average like 2 weeks of snow a year. Yeah. And Blake even less, where he has like 4 days of snow.
The Hawaii of Canada.
Yeah, we don't even get stuff all the time. We're not giving your soil back, Governor.
We'll just move to your soil then.
So James, that's kind of the rationale for it. But Canada is a massive landmass, right? It's unbelievably large. The same size of the U.S. coast to coast. It's like going from L.A. to New York. It's going to take you more than a few days to get there by horseback. Okay, Springhill Jim, word from the vinyl community. Of course, I'm a member of good standing over there. Richard Dolan's career let him get to a camera to record the abomination of video. He needs a new career. What the hell? Springhill Jim, straighten up and fly right. I can't believe the nonsense. But anyway, yeah, so Canada all legislated in. Our native problem is there because, again, it's government dealing with these things, but within a socialist framework, it never worked. And a socialist solution isn't the idea. And I think Sue said it right when she talked about this micmac, because they're integrating, they're dealing and walking hand in hand with the majority white population, and they're prospering as a result. You got to reach out. Same as the casinos. If the natives got a casino, get the white folk in to gamble and have some fun, and we'll get what the hell is it? Wayne Newton. We'll get Wayne Newton in. Blake, a lot of people don't know this, but if you look at Wayne Newton, young pictures of him, he had the ass of a woman. He had his most absolutely almost matronly hips. It was just absolutely amazing. But anyway, Wayne Newton, ladies and gentlemen, looked like a young lesbian, quite frankly, with the hair and everything. But holy smokes, what else we got on the burner today, Blake?
Well, I think I'd like to propose that the Nancy Pelosi,
clap of
condescension should go to Melanie Joly.
Okay, here it is. Melanie, now what's she earning it for?
For wanting to bring Harvard refugees to come to Canada.
Well done, Melanie Joly. You've learned the Nancy Pelosi applause of condescension. All right, that's hurtful. I don't know if she could survive it, Melanie Joly, but there it is, the Nancy Pelosi applause of condescension. So why does Trump want Greenland? Isn't it cold up there too, James Farley? Blake, Greenland.
Very cold, but it's security, number one. It's part of an overall North American defense shield area, and critical minerals mining is going to be a big area. And of course, we are warming up as a planet naturally, though I don't know, or theoretically. I guess I don't know what you can say if YouTube will say anything about it. But the fact is that they are fighting over the North now. International interests are going in there, China, Russia, et cetera, but we need to control it. We need to control as ships can go through there, oil's there, all kinds of possibilities. And Greenland is that. And if you look at Greenland, we can't think of how we look at the world maps where, oh, look, there's Greenland, this giant mass. It's not that big. That is,
they always over exaggerate.
Yeah, I mean, it's as big as Australia, but it looks like there, but it's not.
Australia's big.
But the fact is that you go over the Arctic, and Russia and China are really close. If you come through the Arctic, if you were to fold that over to a globe and have a look, the fastest way to get to North America is through the Arctic. It is not coming from across the Pacific. It's right there.
Because we're a big globe. Sorry, flat earthers, but we're like, I've heard we're actually like a little oblong because we kind of flatten out at the equator. But the thing is, in all the world is football shite. But as it rolls around, as you go up, when planes fly, they do the Arctic route there, or whatever they call that. They take that route, the circuitous, because the globe is spherical. It's a quicker trip if you go north rather than go a direct line, right? It's just science. But anyway, here you go. Here's the map, and let's make this all big. So what's interesting about this is you look at Canada. Here we've got Alaska, here, the US all below us. Now, if America gets control of Greenland, we're going to have America, of course, all through here. America's going to be able to monitor all this region and exploit all this up here. Any oil, any reserves, any minerals up there, America wants access and control to it. And who's to stop them? The tiny nation of Denmark currently has possession of this. But America's got a base there. They've got a lot of influence on it. And Trump says it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We need it for national security. So he wants to create this golden dome that basically fortress North America. I don't know about Mexico or tail end. I think most of his focus is he's looking northward right now. And
my prediction, he's looking to defend the old English Empire territories.
Yeah. Billy Spleen, you're a legend in your own mind. You have just died ignobly on Ghost Town Politics. I'm so sorry about that, Billy Spleen, but he died horribly. So
oops, something went wrong.
He's just, there are a lot of corruption on the reserves as well. Well, because money gets in there, they have their own system. Government comes through. They have oversight within the tribal councils, the chiefs and stuff, and it doesn't always get there. It becomes problematic. So what you're saying, Santa Claus is in trouble? You don't need a sanity clause. You're totally sane.
Hey, he gets tracked by NORAD every year. Nothing changes. He gets extra protection. He now has missile protection.
Okay, what else did we got on the docket today? I just got a couple. Oh, okay, so do you want to talk about the tariffs? Let's talk about some tariffs again. These things are heating up. It should be in the private chat, one that I dropped in there above what you got. EU tariffs are coming into play, folks. Again, there's no end in sight. Here's a message by President Trump. And he writes, the European Union, which was formed for the primary purpose of taking advantage of the United States on trade, has been very difficult to deal with. There are powerful trade barriers, VAT taxes, ridiculous corporate penalties, non-monetary trade barriers, monetary manipulation, unfair and unjustified lawsuits against American companies, and more have led to a trade deficit with the U.S. of more than $250 million a year. A number, what? 250 million. A number which is totally unacceptable. Our discussions with them are going nowhere. Therefore, I'm recommending a straight 50% tariff on the EU starting June 1st, 2025. There's no tariff if the product is built or manufactured U.S. Thank you for your attention to this matter. When he says, thank you for your attention to this matter, who's he talking to, Blake?
He is talking to the European Union and the WF.
Yeah, he's talking to the EU for sure. We're all going to be in. We're going to be in the Golden Dome. That's the beauty of the Golden Dome. We're all part of it, Paul. That's the joy.
Canada's joining it.
We're part of it. So it's going to be Fortress North America. That's how you got to think of it.
Art Carney's taking us in.
Well, yeah, I mean that's some of the the Vegas money is on, will Canada in fact become a 51st state? Is there backroom negotiations? Is stuff going about? There's a lot of hints suggesting that such a union might be taking place. Blake covered a lot of it in yesterday's program and also the day before. It's a story that we're monitoring, keeping our eyes on. I, for one, could not be happier about it. I sure the hell hope and pray that it comes true. So, no, it will not prevent me from getting down there. But, yeah, let's go to the EU. Tariffs, 50%. He's telling the EU, play nice. I'm not fucking around. You better straighten up and fly right, or we're going to hurt you bad. Is this all blustering of Trump, or can he really hurt them?
Well, I think this is all part of his process of negotiating to get the right deal. He always goes at them, and he warns you: if you counter, I go higher until it gets to the ridiculous stage, and then finally they say, "Well, we better talk to him," just like China. We better talk. We better sort something out because we're reliant off that money. But hey, if the EU wants to say, you know what, we're going to compete with you 100%, then let's do it. We'll have Fortress North America. We'll not only have Fortress North America, we'll have an economic union in North America, the most powerful economic powerhouse on earth. That's what it would become. So they can play games. We've got the oil. What has Europe got? We've got a little bit of oil up in the North Sea and around Norway. They got some twigs for trees, I think. And
they have got windmills and all that, because the windmills do great for getting.
Well, you could buy some tulips from, have a whole new tulip market. We know how well that played out a couple hundred years ago, but so,
Blake,
but yeah, no, I hope EU gets their act together and smartens up. I think of the Norm Macdonald's skit when he talks about Germany. If you've ever seen that, that is absolutely hilarious. You got to pull that up and play it. It's about 2 minutes long, and he talks about Germany. And I think Great Britain plays big in Trump's plans. I think there's a wedge being formed here with the EU. I think Great Britain's going to be part of the story with Trump down the road here.
Yeah, you're talking about the Five Eyes: Australia, New Zealand, England, or the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, we reached the 101 mark. We're actually a little overtime here, a minute overtime. I like to do these things within an hour or within a half hour to an hour because it keeps things kind of busy. Pithy, not pissy. Hey, he'll give in to the EU without any gains like he hasn't given in to anything, Paul. You're wrong about that. Anyway, Blake, thank you so much. Canada's the one that actually brought its elbows down. Canada quietly removed all its counter tariffs against the United States. Absolute win column for Donald John Trump, the greatest president of my lifetime. Thank you so much, Blake. We'll be back tomorrow. Blake, will we get you on? No, I'm sorry. We can't be here tomorrow. We got a day off tomorrow.
Yeah, we're off, but we're only Monday through Friday.
All right, we're Monday to Friday. We changed the schedule. I'm so sorry. We're ready for the weekend.
Well, our American friends will all be having a holiday on Monday on Memorial Day, so they might be able to see us when you're sitting around in your pajamas on Monday. Tune on in.
That's fantastic. See you Monday, everybody. Thanks. Give us a like, thumbs up, helps, and subscribe. We love subscribers. Help us out. We're a young channel just starting out.